This device is an experimental underwater radio. I was transmitting a voice signal to my friend Chuck Ballin, the inventor of it. He was a member of my underwater flotilla in the Coast Guard Auxiliary. We were making some tests on the transmitter receiver, hoping to present it to the Navy. I had left Chuck a few hundred feet away. He was going to home in on my signal. It was taking too long. I was beginning to worry. Something was wrong. I didn't have much air left, and that meant that Chuck didn't either. If he didn't surface soon, he never would. My radio unit overboard and rigged it to operate from the deck.
Chuck, where are you? I'm on the boat. Chuck, where are you? I'm on the boat. Chuck, if you're in trouble, send up a signal. A flare, mark a buoy, anything.
I didn't see any bubbles within a reasonable range. I couldn't imagine why Chuck hadn't surfaced, unless he was in trouble.
Chuck, I'm going to spiral out. I'm going to try to locate your bubbles. If you hear me, Chuck, I'm spiraling out, and I'm going to try to locate your bubbles.
I was hundreds of yards from my starting point. How could Chuck have wandered any farther? Bubbles. Must be Chuck. But what was wrong? Bubbles led me right to him. I was so relieved to see him alive and well that I didn't notice how surprised he was to see me. He wanted me to listen to his unit. A clear signal was coming in, and it wasn't from my instrument on the boat. It was impossible for the signal to be coming in. Yet there it was. We were soon to find out just how sinister it was.
What do you suppose that is, huh? No idea. I thought it was your signal. I was trying to home in on it. What, 600 yards in the opposite direction?
600 yards?
Yeah. You better start looking at that compass of yours, boy. I thought I'd lost you for good. What could it be?
Must have been your signal bouncing off one of the shoals.
I've been using my throat mic. Anyway, I haven't used the URC for the past 45 minutes.
Well, maybe it was some kind of above surface signal reflected underwater. I don't say it's likely, but it's possible.
You didn't hear me talking, do you?
No. I just tuned till I heard a signal. That's the one I got. Mike, something weird going on down there.
How'd you like to do a little investigating, huh?
You mean track it?
Yeah, with the URC. We'll trail it over the side of the boat and do intentionally what you did by accident. We'll home in on the beam. Here, rig it the topside, huh?
It took a little while to determine our course, but once we established the direction of the beam, we maintained a good speed for several miles out to sea.
How's it going? Getting stronger. Mike, past the strongest point, you better turn back. Easy, Mike. That's it.
The signal appeared to come from a large bed of sea grasses, just a few yards away. We were certainly right on top of the source of the beam. All we could see was thick plants, more dangerous than we suspected. I indicated to Chuck that he should wait, while I circled out cautiously. Chuck had found some kind of a metal rod hidden in the plants. Before I could stop him, he had brushed against it. He was stunned by a heavy electric shock. I couldn't tell how badly he'd been hurt. He was conscious. That's all I knew. Then I saw something that worried me even more. It was a submarine, apparently heading out from shore. It had no markings. It was bottoming. Instinctively, I looked for a place to hide. Chuck was still not fully recovered. My fear was justified. A frogman from the sub was already heading our way. Luckily, he seemed to be looking for anyone. As he passed, I got a good look at the weapon in his hand. It was a portable version of the device that had almost electrocuted Chuck. The frogman manipulated a hidden switch. He moved past us again to the device that Chuck had found. Then he swam back to the sub.
He was standing where I stood. Nothing happened. He also turned off the signal. Come on. There. Switch. The electricity. That's all. It's on. Let's investigate. It's an underwater radio beacon. Condensers. They get power from the beacon. Electric gun. You set this off. Pow. Let's go up.
What do you suppose they're up to? Something they shouldn't be, that's for sure. That sub was heading out from shore. I'm gonna take another look at that chart. Now, here's our position now. Here's where we first picked up the beam. See what happens when we draw a straight line through those 2 points, huh? That way it brings us. Right there.
U.S. government property. Restricted.
See, here's shoals on either side, except for this one narrow channel.
Yeah, that's exactly where the beam is aimed.
That beam would take a sub navigating an instrument so close to shore it would be a cinch for a diver to go the rest of the way.
Oh, I see. That's pretty clever. When they come to this point, they turn on the beacon. Then they use the beams and navigate among the shoals. On the way out, they turn it off again. What could be simpler?
I'm more devastated. We better call the Coast Guard right now.
An hour later, we had explained our encounter to Commander Barney Adams of the Coast Guard.
It's diabolical. An underwater beacon is something a lot of people have been trying to perfect for years. But how did that sub get by our coastal sonar?
Oh, it's possible that it moved in under a thermocline. Sonar could have missed it that way.
Well, we'll soon know. The Navy's keeping us informed. We missed our chance to apprehend the sub, that's sure.
Oh, I wouldn't be too sure about that. Might have another chance.
Why do you say that?
From the looks of that beacon, it's been down there quite a while.
You think they're making regular trips? Pardon me. Hello? Yes, Tom. Well, what'd you find out? Well, how'd that sub get through? Mm-hmm. I see. No, nothing definite yet. We may need your help later on. All right, thanks, Tom. That was the Navy. No evidence of anything wrong at the installation. You were right, Mike. There was a thermocline at the time. The sub could have used it for cover.
So what are you going to do now? I mean, if and when the sub returns.
Well, the sub could get by sonar again, couldn't it?
Well, but if it navigates by that beacon, which it undoubtedly will, our URC units will pick up the signal.
Except we couldn't stay underwater indefinitely just waiting for it.
No. But we could set up a 24-hour watch on shore. I think this is the way we'd do it. We'd submerge our underwater receivers in the path of that radio beam. And as soon as the beacon came on, we'd tune into the signal. Maybe we should get it.
I feel it only fair to warn you that if you're coming up with a sound, workable plan, make sure it's very sound and very workable. Because I'm assuming I can tell the Navy that you two are going to volunteer for this job.
Commander Adams meant what he said. We were in this up to our necks, starting immediately. These men were members of the Coast Guard Auxiliary and my underwater flotilla. They were top-notch divers. Earlier that afternoon, we'd explained our overall plan. Chuck and I will be based here, near the research station, so we'll be able to intercept anyone going to and from the sub. Now, the moment that we contact you by radio, you're to proceed directly by cutter to this beacon here. And then you can just head in toward us, where Chuck and I are located here, huh? How's that clear?
Oh, one more thing. If for any reason you have to tackle one of those electric guns, just remember the charge is deadly. But they don't seem to have very big batteries. After the gun's been fired once, it takes time for them to build up voltage again. Not much, but maybe important.
Well, it is. Well, I guess that's it. You got any questions? Mm-hmm. Better report to Commander Adams right away, huh? Our listening station was a converted stockroom close to the beach. We had food, bunks, our diving gear, and amplifiers for our underwater receivers. On the beach, we connected our units to a long cable from the stockroom. When I placed the receivers underwater, we were ready for our monitoring assignment. Yes, sir, I will. Right.
What did the commander have to say?
What he's been saying for the last couple of days. When's it going to happen?
Well, it's only been 4 days. Why is he so pessimistic?
Oh, he isn't really. He's just concerned. I don't blame him. Quite a responsibility. It was several days more before anything happened. This is it. Come on, get up. Umpire to shortstop. Umpire to shortstop. Over.
Shortstop, this is umpire.
Alert here. Any report?
Sonar negative. Thermocline conditions reported. Proceed with plan. Over.
Roger and out. Only a few minutes later, we were underwater. Our scheme had worked, but we had no idea what we'd run into. We figured that we knew roughly where the sub would stop. Our plan was to observe its activities, maybe even intercept a diver if we could. We spotted bubbles in the distance. A frogman was swimming toward shore. armed with the same kind of electric gun that we'd seen before. I figured that despite the gun, the two of us might capture him.
Let's follow him.
The frogman was joined by another, also armed. The odds were too much now against us. We'd have to keep out of sight.
Control your pose and don't move.
They were moving on past me. But they had seen Chuck. They were heading straight for him. I had to do something. I stirred up a cloud of sand and released a marker buoy on a short line. It worked. Both frogmen discharged their electric guns at my decoy. That gave Chuck the chance that he needed. While he wrestled with one, I grappled with the other. My opponent was skilled at judo. He pushed me off with a foot on my chest and shot the gun at me. The voltage hadn't built up yet, but it was enough to stun me. Then he turned to get Chuck, but he couldn't get Chuck without hitting the other frogman. I came to in time to see Chuck still struggling with one of them, and the other drawing his knife. I pulled out my knife. I had the advantage of surprise now and cut his air hose before he knew what happened. He wasn't finished yet. He needed air, fast. He went for mine. He tugged viciously at my mouthpiece. I was still groggy from the shot, but I held on. I heard the electric gun and looked up. The frogman was electrocuted. One of my flotilla men had found us and shot him with his own gun. He saw that Chuck had the other frogman as prisoner, so he helped me. We all surfaced together.
Thought I had it. I can't thank you enough, Pete.
Semper Paratus, Mike. Semper Paratus.
It's a good thing you were punctual. Another minute would have been too late.
What about those divers? Who were they, do you know?
Well, the one below that got it can't talk, and this one won't. He was an employee at the installation. Inside his wet suit, we found some microfilm with extremely important data.
And the sub?
Well, the Navy is... Well, the Navy is taking good care of it.
That reminds me. Do you think we'll have to make any more tests of this for the Navy?
Once they get that sub, I think they'll be convinced.
Hi there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. Skin diving is certainly a lot of fun, and it's full of adventure. See some more of it again next week, huh? When there'll be another excursion into that fabulous underwater world of Sea Hunt.